Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday, and welcome to another episode of Cisilion Live. Whether you're joining us today on LinkedIn, YouTube, or on demand, we have a really interesting topic to bring to you today around cloud communications and how to make it, and to make it even more exciting. We have a handful of Cisco's latest and greatest 4K cameras to give away today. So do give us a like, do give us a share. It should be quite an interactive session today as well. So drop your comments and questions into the chat so that we can answer them in real time for you today. And we'll be announcing the winners at the end of the show. As always, I'm joined by a couple of industry experts, industry powerhouses, our very own head of modern workplace, Iqbal Javaid, and from the pioneers, actually, of enterprise telephony, Justin Woolen, who heads up Cisco's UK and I collaboration business. Good morning, gentlemen. Hope you're both well. I want to start with this. I want to start with this, if I may. We all know that communication is one of the foundations of civilization, right? And we know that this permeates into our workplaces as well. Whether you're a hospital, a law firm, a fashion house, a retailer, or any other organization, we all spend a ton of time speaking on the telephone, right? And look, the world knows, conversely, the world knows now the benefits of sticking your servers and applications into the cloud. So today we'll be talking about the cloud use case of that, the most fundamental of business and human tools, telephony. So whether you use your phones currently just for dialing out, or more likely the advanced features that we see in contact center and call manager, we're going to discuss today why you should absolutely consider putting your telephony in the cloud, and of course why Cisco and Cisilion even are the best of the best when it comes to taking an organization into the cloud for their telephony, video, and meeting investments. So, Justin, first question to you, if I may. Why should organizations who aren't already thinking about it, why should they put their telephony in the cloud? And how are Cisco simplifying that journey for those on-premise customers around the world?
Hi, Craig. Yeah, thank you. And that's one of the first of the big difficult questions I'm going to be getting today, I'm sure. So, you mean telephony is just another application that is moved to the cloud. It's another SaaS service, and that's how we're looking at it and perceiving it in Cisco. It's just another workload that we want to take away, put into the cloud. We've got heritage in IP telephony going back to the early 90s, because I remember when I was outside Cisco and learning all about voice over IP and that sort of stuff, and that's where we've come from, and that's been our pedigree for a long time. So, but why move to the cloud? It's like most things, isn't it? Why would I move my application from an on-prem server that I have to look after, maintain, run, power, call, those sort of things? And then there's also the bit about, right, okay, it's trying to make it, how do I operationally run it and make it easier? So it's not just about looking after the infrastructure and giving it to somebody else to do, but it's also the piece about how you then start to optimize it and make it even easier to run. So that's the bit for us about moving something from the cloud is let's take something that we're really, really good at, which is IP telephony and calling. Take something that we've got a massive market share in, with over like 50% market share in it. So we have got a pedigree and we're good at it. And let's just make it easier for everybody by going, look, we'll just take that away. We'll put it and run it in the cloud for you. And working with our partners, like, and this is my catchphrase now for the day, super Cisilion, but be able to, with our partners like yourself, who've been there from the start, of being able to help our customers migrate. Because it's not something that's easy, and it does need management, it does need focus, and it does make sure I have the right outcomes. But that's why sort of the key things is about, well, let's take that the heartache away of running those applications yourself and the cost that goes with that. But also then we can then optimize it even better. And then that's the thing around, then we can start to, as we're evolving it and we bring in new features, it's not that thing of going, right, okay, I've got to upgrade my call manager again, or it's happening, it's done. And that's the thing about also the ease of it is all the complexity around telephony. And that's the thing that people forget. And you talked about hospitals and things like that, and fashion houses and law firms, but But telephony is something that I think we take for granted, and we forget that it's not just about picking the phone up and going hello. There's so much more to it around the call routing, the dial plans, things like that we can just take and go, we've moved it. And you're going, so it's exactly the same, and all the features and functionality that I was running this day one in my own on-prem or running in my own server environment is now running in somebody else's, in Cisco's cloud. And that's sort of the simplicity of it. So of all the journeys to the cloud you could have for applications and software as a service, we feel it's most probably the easiest one to do.
Excellent. And as easy as it is, there are also a lot of features, aren't there, from a collaboration calling perspective that needs to go in the cloud. And I think from a features perspective, it can sometimes be a concern whether people are going to lose features by moving their call into the cloud. Iqbal, do you think that's a valid concern these days?
I think I'd say the opposite. From what I see, we've got a slide up now which kind of gives you a view on some of the kind of capability that's available in the cloud. But the issue that we find is most customers say, well, actually, we're going to lose out on the features that we're familiar with on our on-prem environment, because cloud is sometimes seen as being too forward-thinking and sometimes forgets the important things that are still available as on-prem technology. And I guess that's where we've seen Cisco kind of address this point. You know, as far as the journey to cloud is concerned, Cisco have two distinct offerings. And, you know, whilst this kind of lists out some of the great capabilities in kind of their WebEx calling service, there are the two solutions that are currently available, which is UCM Cloud, which is, I guess, Call Manager in the cloud, and then you've obviously got the WebEx calling, and I guess, Justin, if you don't mind, maybe giving us a view on why have Cisco decided to go down this path, and what are you looking to address by having two different types of platforms, and maybe, you know, talk a bit about how this point around features is concerned, because as far as cloud's concerned, the only thing I see is this will continue to become even more feature rich, and I'm certainly excited to see where we will potentially end up.
That's another challenging question, but thank you for that, Iqbal. It's so what is the thing I would like to start it off with is, what is it that you want from this cloud service? What do you want from this cloud calling service? And that's the thing, going, right, okay, I'm an existing call manager customer or communications manager, and I want the same features, I want the same functionality, I want all these different features that I want to basically take what I've got over here and all the way we've set it up, individualize, we personalize it to our organization, whether it's your law firm, like you say, your fashion house, or your NHS trust, and I just want that run somewhere else. Now that's the thing, we'll give you that. But on the other side, you're just going, do you know what? I just want a generic 80%. You mean I just want sort of, I don't know, a bunch of features, maybe 80% of what the normal features are. Do you know what? I can go to the other offering, which is the WebEx calling offering. So we've given you choice of, if you want the complexity and you want things to be replicated exactly how you have it in your call manager environment, then great, we can do that for you. But if you just go, do you know what? Maybe for example, in a retailer, somewhere you just go, I just want normal, just some basic calling features, pick up the phone, dial someone, or some simple hunt group, things like that. Then just go with WebEx calling, and you can have that sort of one service from one and one service from the other. You can have what suits you.
Mm-hmm. Perfect, lovely, and I'm sure that's reassuring to many people on the call. And as I said at the start, it is interactive today. Drop your comments, like, shares in the chat. Justin, just on the note in terms of how much features or not you may need in the cloud, what are Cisco's recommendations from a licensing perspective, from a simplicity perspective of actually the commercial side of this as well?
Oh, right. Oh, we're getting onto the money already. Okay. Let's. Thank you, Craig. So let's. You mean the one thing is that Cisco might have let me just sort of like to say dispel a myth maybe out there that Cisco's like a premium, but you're paying extra. We've come from this pedigree of calling, and we know that we want to maintain and look after our calling market share. We ain't going to do that if we're just going to continue to price ourselves out the market. So we feel, and I feel as the business leader in the UK and Ireland, that we are very price competitive. You will always get a really good price for our calling, and the way that we want our customers to get that best value for money and the best price is to move into onto what we call as flex. Now, flex is basically a licensing agreement. Then what we want to do, so for customers who are already paying service support or Swiss, I don't want to get too many acronyms. G2 always likes to call out the leaders and go, stop using too many acronyms. But basically, the software support that you would already have on your call manager, that gives you support, but then it doesn't allow you to move to the cloud. So the first thing we want to do with our customers is it's the first step of the journey into the cloud is to get your licensing model right. So just moving when you're ready and your software support or your services support for your core manager infrastructure is ready to go, ready to be renewed, come and talk to Super Cisilion, come work with Cisco. We will then move you onto a flex plan. And that flex plan then gives you the licensing ready to go and move to the cloud. So then you're ready to do that. You don't have to move to the cloud, but you can start to get you've got the licensing ready to move to the cloud. And with that as well, you can start to get access to certain features of being able to look at sort of, you'll get access to sort of WebEx Hub, and you'll go, or Control Hub. And that starts to get you going, well, actually, I've now got the ability to have the analytics to see how you take advantage of that one feature and functionality that sits in the cloud, which is Control Hubs. Because then you'll start to go, wow, this is something I didn't have with my old call manager. So he starts to get you on that journey to that. The other way you can also do it is with an enterprise agreement. And that is probably the most cost-effective way to do it. And what that allows you to do is to start to get things such as you get 20% growth. So you can start to grow your number of phones or your knowledge workers. There's some other things in there like your common area phones, so phones that everybody can use. They just come in there. You can have as many of them as you want. And the other thing as well is it allows you to grow by 20%, but also we do the true forward. So what that means is that if you start to see a ramp up in your usage of calling, that's fine. We won't bill you what you've done, but what we'll then do is sit down with you and rework out look at the new agreement. So as you move forward, we'll then start to look at the pricing as you go forward. So what we don't do is we don't bill you for what you've used, but we'll then look at putting an agreement into how we're billing you correctly for the way you're going forward. So they're the sort of the commercial ways we can move you to the cloud as well.
Excellent. Iqbal, any thoughts now? I know you're. It's easy for Cisco to say it's cheaper. We're on the ground and we're talking to loads of customers. Iqbal's leading that. Are we seeing that Justin's words there are correct? And what's your take on that whole commercial piece?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the myth around Cisco being expensive is no longer there. We've got a good view on actually what the industry is doing as a whole. In fact, there's a cloud calling white paper that we've produced, which kind of looks at the industry as a whole, and we're confident that as a business we tend to work with those Gartner leading organizations, and Cisco have been in that top right hand corner for a number of years now. So that's that for to kind of address that point. But from a licensing perspective, I think Cisco have kind of nailed it now. It's been very complicated historically, and we know that, but actually we're now working with lots of customers. In fact, I know there's some customers that have joined us today that are still on that on-prem journey, and we're in the process of moving them to this flex agreement. And the great thing about the flex thing is it can be adjusted to meet the customer's needs. As we've said, they can continue to operate as they are today, but it offers them the flexibility to move to cloud as and when they want. And even though we know that there's two cloud offerings there, you've got the ability to potentially move to the call manager in the cloud, the UCM cloud, if that's right for them day one. And we talked about the integrations, and I think that's probably one of the reasons why we're seeing customers go for this particular option, because they're using things like CCX, so contact center, or they're using other integrated platforms around call recording, or they have other applications that are integrated in with the calling service. And it makes sense for them to be looking at UCM Cloud as the first step. And then the second step could be next 3 to 5 years that they move to a WebEx calling offer, because it's actually more competitive, feature rich, more competitive. And again, that same flex agreement can be adjusted to accommodate all of those services. So I think, can't disagree with Justin. Obviously we want to be working with Cisco. We want to be working with the customers. The important thing for us is we want to do the right thing by the customer. We know that there's always a cloud first strategy, but it's not a cloud only strategy. So we want to try and run at the pace that the customer wants.
Wow, brilliant. Great answers, gentlemen. There's another thing that I've always admired and long admired about Cisco, which is their end-to-end, not only in the applications, as we saw the feature set a moment ago, with everything you get from a call manager perspective, but also the end-to-end nature of the hardware, right? So we go back to the Tandberg days and the fantastic meeting room equipment you've got. We're giving away some cameras today at 4K, and are there any plans to change Cisco's go-to-market and reduce the numbers? I mean, even just here on the slide, you see we've got headsets, cameras, handsets, desk pros, so many things. Are there any plans to change that?
No. We're going to keep. So that's simple answer. Move on. No, but it's we are. You mean what you can see is and there's some enhancements to come on top of this as well. So we're going to continue. You mean we. Our innovation is based in the hardware and obviously the software that runs on those phones, and that's running in the cloud. So giving people the choice. The one thing that we've noticed during the pandemic is the piece around, people don't need to use phones anymore. Not necessarily. It's the soft phone or it's the WebEx app that's running on their device. So we're starting to look at things such as the headsets, and I know you got the pictures of the headsets there. And to give people that still want to have that great user experience. And that's the thing around that. And for me, it's calling or telephony or just being able to talk to people can be on a plethora of devices. And that's the thing of being able to start off as a chat, as in an instant message chat, to then go to I'm going to do a call. And then from that call to go to being a video call. I'm still calling, but that's the thing that we're all used to being on video now, like we are now. But then from moving from that and then to start to working. So what we started talking about now is hearing to seeing to doing. And that's the whole point of you've got a plethora of devices there that allow you to do that. So start off like I'm just having a chat. Then I can go to let's turn the video on so you can be more engaged. Now that's not a meeting. So the bits I'm trying to get you, that's not web conferencing or WebEx. It's still a call, but it's a call with video. And then you can say, well, let's start to use the features such as the whiteboarding, sharing content, and let's start to co-create or collaborate together. That's the difference, and that's what the whole of these devices are going to allow you to do. Depending on where you are, what you want to do. I mean, there's some devices that you've got the mobile device down the bottom. You've also got the new, which you haven't shown there because it's very new, is the new phone that's coming out. This looks very much like a smartphone, but it gives you ruggedized. It allows you to wipe it down, start to use it for things such as in hospitals. So it's the right tools for the right job, and that's what you're going to see. That's what you're seeing from this platform as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, just to kind of extend that, when you think about a typical enterprise customer, they have a need around so many. They have so many different use cases that need to be fulfilled, and this is where I think Cisco kind of lead the way. They have a Cisco manufactured device to address a solution which requires an analog connection. So you've got the ATAs, which is built by Cisco, all the way up to a WebEx Desk Pro, which, as you said, is a fully featured whiteboarding, video, 4K video capability. And that's perhaps for the exec. But I think what we find with other vendors is when you are in an enterprise where you've got a requirement for things like analog devices, mobile devices, conference phones, video room equipment, headsets. That's a very common thing. And you don't find manufacturers or vendors who are able to develop all of those things. So to be able to have that single vendor who can provide that service and deliver the same quality across all of those devices, and also standardizing the capability across those devices, there isn't really anybody else that can do that. So I think this point can't really be missed. It's definitely a key consideration when we're speaking to customers. But we know the age that we're living in. For majority of the knowledge worker, it is about the soft client, it is about the headset, it is about the desk camera, right? It's being able to deliver the best possible experience for most of those people, and that's being addressed with the platforms today.
Cool. It's also about the bottom line, right, and cost. And I think we touched on it earlier that Cisco are doing great things around the licensing models. They have the incentives to go from one acronym into let's say Swiss. One of the often overlooked things that some of the finance directors and COOs that we talk to, we bring to them is how Cisco Capital and leverage of true 0% finance. It's the bank of Cisco. It's reinvestment of their profits to make affordability top of the agenda. Cisco Capital on the hardware side and on your licenses can make that really, really cost effective over a period as well, turning that traditional capex investment of many millions into opex spends per user per month in some cases. I want to maybe, Justin, keep you on your toes a little bit here. And a lot of the transition to cloud holistically is started by transformation initiatives, right? And as per the meme and the GIFs, transformation was been spurred on obviously by the pandemic. Transformation is also an area where a lot of people are putting their eggs into other application baskets. And the one that springs to my mind is the whole Microsoft Office 365 piece. People don't really realize, though, that you can still have all the great benefits of Cisco, of WebEx, of cloud calling residing with your Office 365 tenant. What are your thoughts? I guess why should an organization be looking at Cisco despite transformation going arguably a different direction?
Yeah, thank you for another challenging question, Craig. Yeah, so that's a good one. So for me, it's about getting the best of both worlds. We live and breathe calling. We've been doing calling for a long time, and calling isn't easy. And that's, again, this must be the third time I said it, it's our pedigree. So they're a bit about moving to, if they're having a transformation project, they want to move that workload to the cloud. If you are, even if you don't, but if you are an existing Cisco calling customer and looking at Microsoft as well, you can have the best of both, because we can integrate that from our calling into the Microsoft Teams app and give you that great user experience with all the telephony, all the features, all the functionality, all the complexity that you're used to with Cisco, but using that integrated into Microsoft. So that is something there. And that's another great thing around working with, and I'll say it again, Super Cisilion, because that's the bit of where your pedigree comes from, because you know Microsoft, you know Cisco, and you can deliver that to the customer. And I think that's the difference. I think that is really at the heart of it as well. So you can get the best of both worlds. You can use our endpoints on a Microsoft environment. So you can have everything. I still feel it's very much 1 + 1 = 3, that you can get the best by just bringing both together. It's not one or the other. So don't discount us. We are number one in cloud calling. We know it. It's our pedigree, and we integrate really well. We're all about being open and integrating.
Brilliant. Yeah. Same here. And as a key partner for both of those behemoths, Cisilion, we're seeing that operationally. I didn't want to come out with how you guys are playing nice without hearing it from the horse's mouth. Justin, sorry to put you on the spot, but thanks for your candid honesty and excitedness, right? Because ultimately these two giants working together is powerful for any organization. And Iqbal, I think it's fair to say we're seeing that with a number of our customers right now.
Yeah, no, 100%. As you said, we are, a gold partner for both vendors, and we're actually positioned well to look at, the entire environment and come up with a proposition that can bring the best of both worlds. And it's not the right answer for everybody. I think we're grown up enough to admit that that's the case. You know, in some instances, it makes sense for customers to go down the full Microsoft Teams path and use them for calling if it's a very simple requirements that they have. But, you know, when you start looking at budgets, when you start looking at what the total cost of ownership is, this is where I think Cisco really come into play. And this is where what we're seeing at the moment is we're seeing customers making that transition to Teams. Teams is becoming the collaborative tool for sharing content, for messaging. But we're talking about the calling element, which is still very much independent from the rest of the environment. Even though the workflows are joined up, and that's ultimately what we want to deliver, there is the consideration around the cost to rip and replace devices. There's the cost of the licensing. There's the cost of what does the actual PSTN architecture look like. There's and then beyond that, you then look at the integrations like contact center. You know, Cisco offer a complete solution when it comes to calling services. You know, when it comes to contact center capabilities, call recording, call logging, all of that has been around for a long time with Cisco today. So depending on the complexity of what the customer needs, we're in a pretty good position to help customers build a strategy that they can go and execute against. But, you know, more often than not, we are now finding that Microsoft and Cisco can play well together and actually commercially make sense, as well as obviously delivering a great user experience.
Excellent. Thank you, gentlemen. I know that was a tough one. I hope the audience appreciated it. Again, we got a few minutes left, guys, online. If you want to drop questions to us, feel free. I guess I've given you the tough question, Justin. I'm going to let your passion shine through here. Whether you're on a cloud first strategy already, whether you're on premise looking at this, why Cisco?
Well, I think I've talked about that a lot all the way through this presentation,
yeah.
and I'll reiterate it. You mean, this calling isn't easy. There are many vendors out there who've tried to come into the calling market and have struggled. Mm-hmm. We have 6 billion calls per month happen on our platform. 6 billion calls per month, and we have 34 million users already in some sort of or in a cloud hosted environment for calling with Cisco. So we're doing this already, whether you think we are or not, we're doing this already. And the one thing I just wanted I'm just going to finish off on a bit of a personal story here, is more around why is calling important, full stop. Now, I had the unfortunate experience of having to go to a hospital with my dad, but I also had the very proud moment of being sitting there in A&E, and all I could hear was the phone ringing. And obviously, and they would like to say it was a Cisco phone, but it was the call ringing. It was at the heart of this hospital. And it was ringing, and doctors were answering it, nurses were answering it, nurses were making calls, and it's the application that makes things run. So whether you think calling is important or not, I just want to remind you that even now, we're coming out of hopefully coming out of a pandemic, or the end of the pandemic, calling is going to be important again. Mm-hmm. Calling is going to be there. It's not everything's going to be an online meeting, a WebEx meeting. Other vendors are out there for meetings as well. It's going to be calling, and people are going to end up talking to each other, and that's how businesses and organizations are run. So it's still going to be important. And the innovation that we've been bringing out into WebEx, which we've been doing, we brought over 400 features we brought into WebEx. Those features are going to coming into our calling platform as well, like Babel Labs, the noise reduction, that's coming into calling. And that's just one example. And the other thing as well is around the analytics that you're going to get through which was on your previous slide about WebEx Control Hub. Understanding, even if you're on-prem, you can still have access to that and understand what features and functionality is being used. And when there's problems, it'll point them out to you. And we can do all that from the cloud. So there's the continuous innovation that we're bringing out is going to keep coming. and it's going to keep coming. So you think we're complex now and calling is complex? Yes, we are. And we've taken it away and put it in the cloud for you to move to. So that's the thing I would just want to bet you to be about. Why Cisco? We've been doing this a long time and we're good at it. And when you've got 6 billion calls a month, I think it speaks for itself.
Good man. And look, just before we wrap up, 2 things. One, I hope your dad's a lot better now.
Yeah, he's fine. Thank you.
Good stuff. Keep being a good son. We appreciate that. And Iqbal, wrapping up, or just before wrap up, we've got the winners to announce, I believe. Hopefully I'm not throwing you off there, but winners to announce. Who are our lucky winning guests?
So yeah, I'm delighted to announce that we've got 5 lucky winners. We've got David Noakes, we've got Wazim Natha, we've got Ben Dennison, and we have Mohammed Natawala, and finally Che Dupe are our lucky winners for this week. And we'll be getting in touch with you to organize the shipping of these devices. I'm honestly really excited about the WebEx desk cam. I'm still waiting for my one to come in. Hopefully Justin will hook me up with one of those. Yeah. But yeah, I think that on paper look like great piece of kit, and hopefully the winners can go on to enjoy them, to enjoy those. And just before we do wrap up, Craig, also, we will be doing a couple of follow-up webinars, which will be more of a tech deep dive into what does actually transition to cloud really look like for some of our customers. And there won't be Cisilion live events. There'll be kind of, our standard webinars, but more of a tech deep dive to focus on what does the architecture look like. So yeah, that's it from me. Over to you, Craig, to wrap up.
Good man. And listen, gentlemen, thank you both so much for your time today. Thanks to everyone in our audience. If you liked what you saw from Cisco and Super Cisilion, as Cisco put us, then do get in touch. We have white papers, as Iqbal said, webinars, customer references, and everything you can speak to. Wrapping up now. Thanks again. Have a great day. We should be in the pub less than a month now. Take care. Thank you for watching Cisilion Live.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Cheerio.
Cheers.